Hey everybody, welcome back to Conscientious Omnivore. My name is Pal. Hopefully going to do a relatively short stream now, but I wanted to address some things in a kind of a quick format. A response to NoJoyinLife. They had some comment interaction with me on my previous video about wild animal suffering, and then they were not satisfied with my response. So the topic I really want to talk about is kind of a response to the video response that he put out afterward. So hopefully everybody's good. I don't know if yeah, it looks like only just one person's on right now, so the timing might not be the most appropriate. Maybe everybody's out for lunch, but anyway. So hopefully everybody can hear me. Everything looks okay on my end, so I'm going to just share my screen really quick just to give some kind of insight or background on this. But basically, a while back, I did a stream about wild animal suffering. It was kind of a request from one of the regular viewers, Conundrum, and I gave my take on it. If you haven't seen that stream, feel free to go watch it and kind of get why I say what I say, but in a nutshell, I'll kind of summarize. My view is that wild animal suffering is important, and I think people do care about animals in general, and I think even non-vegans care about animals, and when they can, they do try to avoid causing them harm. But obviously, people value themselves more than non-human animals, and especially non-vegans, I would say, do so. And obviously, they will kind of stop at a certain point in their care for wild animals. So whether or not that's ethical or not, I don't know if I really covered that in in that other stream. But basically, my view of it is this, that if we just simply leave animals alone and let all non-human animals do whatever it is that they would normally, naturally do by themselves, that is what I think is the best thing that we can do. That's the best course of action. That's my opinion. I explained in that live stream exactly, why I think humans are not really capable, not really, smart enough, whatever. Like, we don't see enough of the complexity, the interactions between all the ecosystems and various animals, and to try to intervene in any kind of way that I am convinced would actually reduce suffering or increase well-being or anything like that. I also want to talk today about the idea of suffering and whether or not that is something we should be looking at. And the reason I want to do this is not just because of this response from, oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong tab here. This is the one I want to show you guys. Not just the response from NoJoyinLife, who put this out. I'll put the link in afterward if anybody wants to go check out the actual video. NoJoyinLife, I think, was on the debate on Logan Blake's channel as well with who was it, with Effie and Perspective Philosophy, I think, and there was another guy who I can't remember his name, and they talked about antinatalism, and yeah, I don't think they really went into efilism, but I think they just focused on antinatalism. So anyway, I think pretty much, let me just start, I guess, by responding to this. Just summarizing my stance on this, I don't think of suffering the same way that NoJoyinLife thinks of suffering, or that many antinatalists seem to think of suffering. For one, they value suffering more than I do. I don't value it as highly as I value other things, namely like joy and basically, yeah, I guess like the good in life versus the suffering and bad in life. So I think right there, that's kind of a key difference. And I think one thing that that I tried to convey in that live stream about the wild animal suffering was this idea that we can't really fix it. We can't we can't stop suffering from happening in the world, either from humans or sorry, for humans or for the wild animals. And I don't even think it should really be our place to do so, because I don't think we're really capable of it. And in that, I actually agree with many of the things that NoJoyinLife says. In fact, I think if anything, if you're watching this, what I would say to you is that you really haven't watched enough of my video to understand my position. You're doing a lot of what your hero in Mendham seems to do, which is kind of respond to videos without actually listening and without actually taking in the information. You just kind of like pausing it and interjecting a whole bunch of stuff and saying a whole bunch of things that I actually wouldn't even disagree with, but you're coming off as trying to sound really smart by teaching me something that I actually agree with you on. There's no disagreement. So what I mean by that is that I know that no matter what you do in your life, you're going to have some kind of impact and some kind of negative impact. I don't think you can get it to zero. You can get it probably pretty close to zero in certain kind of ideal situations, like if you're kind of living in a place where the weather is a steady 85 degrees year round near the equator. You don't need any kind of house or shelter. You can just literally lay under a tree, and even if it's raining, you might get a little cold, but you'll be fine. You don't need to build anything. You don't need to grow anything beyond just taking fruits off of trees and whatever. Okay, yeah, you could probably get your harm caused down to very close to zero, but even then it's probably not nothing, because you're going to occasionally step on a bug or whatever. And I don't disagree with this. So you spend half your video kind of trying to lecture me on this idea that yeah, I'm going to cause some kind of harm and suffering to others. Yes, I actually just agree with that. There's no disagreements there. Where I do disagree, though, is that it has to get to zero for my existence and my life to be somehow justified or moral or okay or whatever. I don't think that needs to happen. I don't think the suffering that I cause negates the good that I do. I just value those things differently than your perspective. So that's where I think the difference is. And as I've said in the live stream there, and I'll say it again here, the way I look at it is for the people that I've seen going on and on about wild animal suffering and talking about how something should be done, or that we have to do something about it, or that we're morally obligated to do something about it. I actually agree with you, NoJoyinLife, that the only logical conclusion to that, if you actually do value that, and if you actually do want to do something about it, the only logical conclusion that I see is efilism. It's not even just antinatalism. It's full-on efilism: destroy all life, kill everything, and just end any and all sentient life, so that there is no more suffering. Because I don't think you could actually do anything to get it to zero without that. So I think pretty much so yeah, you could have saved yourself the trouble and just asked if that's if you weren't sure that that's my position. That is my position. The reason I did the video is because obviously I don't think that's reasonable. I don't think that's moral. I don't think that's practical. So I think the reason I did the video is to try and convince people that yes, we can do a lot to reduce the suffering in the wild by actually living more ethical, sustainable lifestyles. Veganism is a big part of that, obviously, because you can greatly reduce your impact on the environment, on animals, both domesticated farmed animals, by not consuming them and not exploiting them, and on wild animals, as I covered in that live stream. So basically I'm saying, if you want to do something about it, the only logical conclusion is to pretty much wipe out all life on Earth. And if you don't want to do something about it, in that sense of going to that extreme, then the next best thing is to try to reduce your impact as much as you can and within reason. Now, I think two things here that I want to stress. One is that oh man, I just realized I didn't have the chat up. Sorry guys. I'll read through it in a little bit. So I think one thing that I want to stress is that if we focus on the wild animal suffering and just basically don't go to that extreme, we can do a lot to reduce it, and I think we should. And I think by living more sustainably, living a vegan lifestyle, and growing food in small small scale farming and getting away from monoculture, we can greatly reduce the kind of impact and the suffering that we are causing in the wild. Now, I don't think there is a moral obligation to make it to zero, because even there, it literally would mean ending your own life. Like, you can't move everybody down to that equator, 85 degrees, kind of, like year-round temperature, and that's Fahrenheit, obviously, and where it's comfy and everybody's just eating bananas off the trees. That's one thing. You can't do it. And the thing is that, even at that point, like I say, it's not zero. So I think, you're already here, you're already alive, and everything that is alive has a right to continue living. And I believe that. And, I know the antinatalist response to this is that, okay, but don't bring new life in. Now, I do think there's a big difference between antinatalism and efilism. Like, ending life to prevent new life from coming, I think, is immoral. And the reason for that is that, in my mind, it's basically the equivalent of killing somebody for a thought crime. And what I mean by that is that you are basically committing, if you could, pushing the theoretical red button that would end all life, you are committing the greatest, mass slaughter that has ever been done by any, serial killer, mass killer, whatever you want to call it, genocide, of all time. You're like making the biggest slaughter of all beings by a small select number of people, and you're doing that in order to prevent some other possible harms that may come to other beings that come into existence later. So I think it's just a really backwards way of thinking of things. You're actively doing something really bad and immoral to stop something that may happen in the future. And now I know the response to this is probably going to be, well, we know it's going to happen because there is going to be suffering, the turtles getting eaten and whatever. Yeah, I understand that. But the fact is, you can't decide for animals, whether non-human animals, whether or not they want to continue living or not. So that's already one of the big things, that you cannot communicate with them the way you can communicate with humans. With humans, you could theoretically get consent and get all humans to agree to just simply not procreate anymore. But with non-human animals, you can't get their consent, and that's something I've covered in many videos as well before, talking about antinatalism and efilism. So, I think those are just really big, differences of opinion that we're just not going to agree on. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about really quick is the video by Foot Soldier that he put out recently. It was a response to Cosmic Skeptic and Humane Hancock, and he raised a really interesting kind of comparison between Peter Singer and Tom Regan. And I thought this was a really excellent video. If anybody hasn't seen it, I would definitely recommend checking this out. I think the way Vegan Foot Soldier explained the focus on suffering versus the kind of the deontological issue of respecting an individual's basically right to life and liberty, that is a huge difference. So NoJoyinLife or other people, you guys are valuing the suffering. I valued the right of the being, and that's the big difference. So we disagree on a whole lot less than I think you think we do, and I think we agree on more. I just don't agree with the with the what do we do about it part. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover. So let me jump back to the comments now and start reading things, because did not do a good job here today. Sorry about that, guys. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Perpetually Annoyed, Nikki, Leon, Race Lever. Lots of people in. Ooh, okay. Welcome. Animals don't need rice. They just need to be left alone. Exactly. Leon says, honestly, I'm more in line with reducing wild animal suffering than just leaving them alone. But Leon, what do you think about all the stuff I've said in the other stream? In the sense that, like, how do you go about it? How do you know how to reduce it and without making things worse inadvertently, unintentionally? It's an impossible task. I really do think so. Ray says, maybe after we learn how to stop suffering in ourselves, Leon. Until then, it's just a fool's errand. I would agree. I mean, we can't even get people to stop eating animals and exploiting them for, stuff that we don't need. Rodeos and stupid stuff. Nikki, animals are at their most wild in the spring. No joke. As a solid general rule, the more humans interfere, the more suffering for the animals. I would agree with that. True, it's a thing for the future, probably in 100 years or so, but we shouldn't ignore it until we're good ourselves. I think the best that we can do is to limit our impact and our own causing of their suffering, our own destruction of their habitat, and that kind of stuff. That's what I think is doing the worst stuff. I don't view animals living their lives in the wild as them suffering. I view them as living their lives. Unfortunately, pain and suffering is part of life. I just think it's just one of those things where it's an immature response to not accept that is what happens. That is part of life. Now you either take that or you don't. NoJoyinLife asked me, if I had a child and if the child would come down with cancer or some debilitating horrible disease that would cause them to suffer for years and then they would eventually die anyway because it was incurable. Would I look at them and say, oh well, if you don't like it, tough luck, you can end your life. I don't think that is what I would say to them, and obviously I would do my best to get treatment and help and whatever. I actually do believe in the right to die as well for people that do want to end their lives. So that I think we probably don't disagree on as much as you might think either. But I do have kids. I have 2 kids, and I just hope that never happens to them, and that they live full and healthy and happy lives to old age. But if it did, I would hope that that they would still find comfort in the love that our family gives them, and it's really difficult to know how people will react, how people will view their suffering, especially in the time that they know they're going to die. I think it's a sad thing, but many times you've seen where even children that are pretty young, they know they're going to die, and they handle that news with extreme dignity, and I don't think it's. I just don't think the way you phrased the question to me and you phrased the supposed answer is very mature. So I'm assuming you don't have kids. I don't think you would joke around like that if you did, because that's just not how things would go. But anyway, getting back to the comments here. The ducks on the river chase each other all day long, and there's no stopping them fighting each other over a female. Race lever can stop them. The rest of the time they are peaceful. Where are they? I'm a biocentric selective antinatalist. I'm not even sure what that means, Leon. Biocentric selective antinatalist. Or anti, or maybe not anti. I'm not really even sure what that means. Perpetually annoyed. Race lover, if anyone can, it's you. You're tougher than a duck. Okay. You tried breaking up the ducks fighting, Nikki. Well, they gotta figure out how to get the girl, right? I don't know. I guess. Alright. Let's move on. Okay, something about extinctionists. Then my screen jumped. Hey, generally welcome, but you want people and animals to continue to suffer because your life is okay. Um, I don't want people to suffer, and I don't want animals to suffer because my life is okay. I just know that that is part of life, and I know I've had, suffering and hard times in my life, and I'm still grateful to have it. So, uh, you know, I know that there are many other people that feel the same way, and I do try my best to limit my impact and my cause of suffering to other beings. But I know that it's impossible to bring it to zero short of killing myself, and I'm not willing to kill myself. And I don't think that there is any kind of moral obligation for someone to kill themselves. And I also don't think there's any kind of moral obligation for somebody to not procreate, because I think it's also part of just life. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Race. Then it stays until I have verified your sexy duck outfit and waddle is suitable. Okay, that's odd. I think I missed some comments. Anyway, Jen, did I watch Animal People? No, I haven't. I have been kind of crazy busy, and I have not watched it. Perpetually no, I'd watched it. Good. They thought it was good. Agreed. Terrifying what people are capable of to continue torturing animals. Yeah, it's kind of crazy. We should handle suffering and reproduction intelligently and rationally. Neither the do what you want and the no one should reproduce solutions are any good. I think when it gets into the idea that we limit, who can reproduce and who can't, that is a scary world that I don't want to be living in. Hopefully that never comes to pass. I think that's scary, terrible stuff. Okay. Race was joking. Okay, good. 7, help animal to do because their suffering cause the highest priority to reduce. I think we all consider the suffering we cause the highest priority to reduce. Yeah, I would agree with that, Leon. That's what you're responsible for, is the suffering that you're causing directly. So you can't be responsible for somebody else's, if that's what you meant. They never say what of you had a child. You invented the cure for suffering and ended countless suffering. If you, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's tons of good stuff that people do all the time, and I think that is what we should focus on. Yeah, Nikki, I think it was kind of an awful question, but I don't have any personal problem with NoJoyinLife. I think if we actually sat and talked, it would be a fine discussion, and I'm happy to do so. So if you're watching this later, NoJoyinLife, I'm happy to have you on or join you on your channel. I don't care. And we can talk. I think, again, that we probably agree on a whole lot more than we disagree on. I think you're kind of misunderstanding or just didn't really get what I was trying to say. But anyway, I think that question was pretty out of line a little bit. All right, curing cancer, yeah, exactly. Some other crazy stuff too. I mean, there's developments that can really help a lot of people. Leanne says, for me, the wild animal question also comes from speciesism. I want to stop humans from causing suffering. Ignoring the suffering caused by individuals that are not my species is not an option for me. Again, Leon, what are you going to do? Sit down and talk to a lion? Are you going to talk to a bird to stop eating a bug? Are you going to talk to an insect from eating another insect? Like, how can you possibly, handle that? How can you possibly intervene in any kind of way that isn't detrimental to some other thing down the line? As simple as something like ants. They will attack and kill other insects. If you somehow stop them from doing that, and you somehow caused ants to go extinct or something like that, what kind of impact would that have? Like, you might kill all living beings just by killing the ants. They're so important. So there's so many other little things like that, and I really don't think you can just fix it. I think it's an impossible task, and I'm actually kind of worried about the Franken solutions that are being thrown around by these people who are running the gamut from pave the world over and have zoos basically to keep animals alive and keep them separated, and somehow I don't know, try to just get rid of nature altogether and have only controlled environments where beings can live in totally isolated and kind of non-violent, whatever. Like I can't even imagine that, actually, because as I said in the other live stream, there's cases where animals from their own species will kill or hurt the animals from their own species. So like I gave the example, I think it was like a zebra trying to drown a younger zebra because it was born from a different male, and he didn't want the female to be rearing that one. He wanted to impregnate it for itself, so for himself, and stuff like that. I mean, like, that's within the same species. How are you going to talk to these animals? Like, you can't stop them. So I just don't think it's a smart thing. Jen's gonna push the button. Yeah, Jen, we can, if you want, I'll set up a live stream with you and we can talk about that. I think it's immoral. I think you'd basically be murdering and killing every living being, so that you could prevent other living beings who haven't even been born yet to experience suffering. It's like a non-existent, as of yet non-living entity. You value that more than the people and the animals and the living beings that are here already right now. That's the way I look at that. The red button question. You're kind of misplacing priorities and value. Hey Vohan, welcome. Race is a speciesist. I still don't go around harming other species needlessly. I'll be honest. I'm definitely a speciesist in the sense too, and I think I talked about this a little bit with my debate with Carnival back in the day. Like, I don't deny that I'm a speciesist. I mean, I think if it came down to it, of course you're going to choose your own species over, some other species if it came to some crazy, doomsday type scenario or whatever. I don't doubt for a minute that, my own, like, will to live is probably strong enough that, the proverbial desert island and whatever, like, if there was absolutely nothing there, like, but maybe I could catch a fish from the, I'm just stuck on a rock in the middle of nowhere. There isn't a plant, a grass. There's nothing on it. There's no seaweed. There's just the fish and the thing. Like, yeah, I'd probably try and catch and kill the fish and eat it. I would probably do it. I mean, I don't think that has any kind of relevance to my life and what is, what I think is moral when things aren't in a dire, terrible, situation. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm speciesist too. Vohan lives. I'm so happy. Yeah, I'm so happy to see all of you. I hope everybody's well with all these crazy stuff. Yeah. So, okay. Yep. Nikki thought the question was out of line. I think that's what you were talking about too. Screw that panel challenge. No joy in life to an MMA match. It's funny because everybody does these like MMA match challenges. Like, I mean, when I was a kid, I used to get into fights and stuff in school, but it's been a long time since I've been in any kind of like physical confrontation that was like serious. And I have no idea how I would do. I mean, I don't really have any, particular like training or whatever. I don't even know, what kind of qualifications in that arena this other guy might have, and how would that like show any kind of like superiority to either argument, to say which one's more moral or not. Like, I don't even think it's really like it's not even really helpful, like to be just like challenging people to these fights. I think it's just really funny. And if I lost, would that ruin my point? Would that make me wrong? Like, I don't know. Or if I win, does that make me right? I don't know. I don't think so. Race will train me. Okay. Nice. You were having Vohan withdrawal symptoms. You didn't write. You didn't call. You haven't done the bearded devil puppet series you promised me. That sounds pretty interesting and entertaining. You retired from YouTube. Oh man, that's terrible, Vohan. You need to come back. Hey, Angry Vegan, welcome. Cool. Nikki says, I save insects from webs, especially butterflies and dragonflies. What happens when I'm not? There's a different story. I like spiders though. Yeah, I mean, they have to live too, and that's how they live. I don't want to change it. Like, that's not my place. I think it's an extremely arrogant position to think that I know better than all of existence and all the beings that are out there as to how things have gotten to where we are. Like, I don't know. I don't claim to know. I don't claim to have an answer as to what is the point of life. I just know the point of my life, and that's the best that I can do, is to live my life the best way that I can. Race Lover says, level 93 vegans can talk to animals. I talk to animals all the time, and sometimes I'm convinced they can understand me, but I don't usually understand them too well. And I also don't think that I would be able to explain to them some kind of like heavy, high-level ethical discussions like we're talking about now. You try to push that button and I'll break your fingers. Oh man, okay. Yeah, I'm immoral, and yes to the live discussion at some point. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's definitely talk about it. Leon, it's more about mindset rather than actual lifestyle. I can't force humans that are not moral agents to stop causing suffering if they're within the law. Same with forcing animals. I have to read that again. It's more about mindset rather than actual lifestyle. I can't force humans that are not moral agents to stop causing suffering. Why? Which humans are not moral agents? I'm not really sure what you're saying there. If they're within the law. Same with forcing animals. Are you saying like if something is legal, like currently in most societies eating meat is legal, so you can't stop them? Is that what you're talking about? I don't know. Vohan, I'm debating antinatalists on Discord on the server R3 on Friday at 6 p.m. GMT. Good luck, Vohan. I'm assuming you're the anti-natalist or pro-natalist, like anti-natalist. Jen's going to talk race into pushing the button for her. To film it for YouTube, exactly, because I'm not going on Discord. Okay, you guys are getting kind of wild. Okay. Okay, zero suffering, no guaranteed. Yeah, this is the thing, like, that's another point that NoJoyinLife made in his video. He said, oh, it'd be so easy to end all life. You know, you just shoot off a bunch of nukes and you're done. I've yet to do any kind of like serious research or reading on this, but I actually, I'm highly doubtful that we could produce enough atomic, bombs to actually destroy the world, to actually like blow it apart. I'm pretty certain that without even doing any research, I feel just kind of fairly confident in saying that I think it's impossible to blow up the whole world. Now, he didn't say to blow up the world. He said to produce enough radiation that it would kill all higher forms of life. I actually don't even think that would be the case. You can see even places like Chernobyl, where there was an extremely high level of radiation. It was not enough to kill all the animals living there. And in fact, there have been a lot of wild animals that have moved back to that area because the humans have gone out and they've repopulated, and they're able to live there, with the high levels of radiation. So I don't think it's quite as simple a feat as these, efilists will actually have you believe. It is not an easy task. And to somehow do it in a way that is not going to cause immense suffering and extreme like chaos and panic and just horrific like deaths and heartbreak and suffering, I think that is even a bigger task. So even if you just want to say, well, screw the existing living people because at some point it's got to end, so it, we just don't even care about them, and no matter how bad they suffer, it's worth it anyway because we at least stop the future not as of yet non-existent beings from experiencing any suffering. Even if you were to somehow bite that bullet and take that as a logical step, even then, it's a really, really difficult thing, and I'm not even sure that nuclear radiation would be enough to cause the actual deaths of every living being, or even the higher order living beings. There are definitely lower order living beings that will survive for sure. So I just think it's a really poorly thought out argument that these people make. Where did I lose the thing here? Okay. So Jen says, what suffering? It would all end, zero suffering. So I think you're talking about like a hypothetical red button that really would just, just basically wipe the earth completely to dust or something. Like it would just be gone, like the whole thing. Then we could talk about it, but I don't think we have the means of doing that anyway. And even if we did, I still think it's immoral. Leon, I mean, it's something to keep in the back of your mind in case the topic comes up, but not something to be actively pursued in my lifetime. Oh, okay. Well, I think, then again, Leon, you and I probably agree more than we disagree, because I think it is important to think of it, and I think the best thing that we can do is to basically try and give back as much habitat to wild animals as possible and get out of their place and just let them do their own thing. That's my view on it. Race lover, life would likely find a way to reset. I would agree with that. Just as it did originally, then all progress would be lost. Just as it originally did, then all progress would be lost. Life would be... okay. We don't even know if death is finite with certainty. Well, again, though, my point is not really to talk about is there an afterlife, is there God, is there, whatever. Like, I'm just talking about the people that are here. I value the people and the beings, the animals that are here now. I value them more than the as of yet non-existent future ones suffering. That's the way I look at it. And I think, again, if anybody hasn't watched the Foot Soldier video, I think that one is really good. I definitely recommend it. I'm hoping maybe if we can, I would love to talk to Foot Soldier about this topic, because I can't commend that video enough. I think like he just really nailed it so well. Like veganism is not about the suffering. It's not about reducing the suffering. It's about respecting the rights of other non-human animals and sentient beings to live their lives without interference and basically restrictions from humans. That's what veganism is about, is getting out of the way. It's not about reducing suffering. Okay. Jen says, probably wouldn't be back in time before the sun runs out of gas and everything is gone anyway. Well, I mean, I don't know, like, how long it would take. I don't know. How long is it before the sun engulfs the earth? I don't even remember. Because at some point it's going to basically burn up all of it anyway, right? I don't know how long that is from now. I think it's like many, many millions of years or something. Leon, I mean, I can't force humans to stop eating meat, but I can talk to most of them. There are humans that are not moral agents and don't really understand language or the consequence of their actions. Okay, well, I mean, like mentally challenged people, you mean? Yeah, I would agree with that. With those people, there's nothing you can really do. Yeah, so Jen is talking about a Death Star, so something that just literally just evaporates the whole planet or something. Disintegrates the whole thing. Another huge assumption, Lee. Well, yeah, I mean, how do you make it? I guess, like, that's the thing. Which makes them on the same level as animals when it comes to activism. Yeah, I would agree, Leon. I mean, with somebody who's, say, like, mentally, challenged, they're not developed, whatever, they don't have the capability, like, yeah, there's only so much you can do. But I don't really view that as being, a question of moral or, morality or ethics. Like, that's somebody who is extremely limited in their, capabilities, and you just do the best you can with somebody like that. Race letter wants a life star. That would be good. Nikki talks to animals too, then watch. They tell you with their eyes. If flies don't like something you're doing, they will come and bump you in the head. I'm not wrong. I don't know. I've never talked to a fly, I'll be honest. But I talk to other animals all the time. And I do think they can tell a lot just from your kind of like voice and the way you move, and I think they can read us better than we can read them, or at least that's my experience anyway. I definitely don't often know what's going on in their head as much as I think they know what's going on in mine. Leon, nuclear winter can be really extreme, but 2.5 billion years ago, the whole world was frozen over and life survived. Yeah, exactly. That was when there was no multicellular life yet, though. Okay, well, I don't know exactly. What about the other, ice ages and whatever? I mean, people survived through those. And, yeah, I'm sure there would be people who would build, stuff that would, be able to keep them alive underground bunkers, etc., etc. Like, life would not just go away. I think there would absolutely be people who would be keen on trying to survive through that, and they would. But I think there would be enormous suffering. Yeah. So Jen's talking about a totally hypothetical red button scenario. Race, I'll come visit for the vegan cookies, but then we'll stay in the gray side to keep the world safe from the light side morons and the dark side morons. There's a lot of crazies all over the place. Leon, but the Earth only needed 600 million years to evolve humans. Okay. I don't know how long we have till the sun burns us up. I don't remember. Perpetually annoyed wants the cookies. Yay, Jen sent the cookies. Cool. The Earth is just a big rock. I think it could be blown up. I've seen lots of planets blowing up in Star Trek. Exactly. No one is blowing anything without my permission. Me too. Earth too. Nice. Foot Soldier said veganism can't be done with an utilitarian view, but I find the utility of animal rights really helpful and on the same level as human rights. But I think that's what he's talking about is rights. And just like you wouldn't limit human rights, that's how you should not limit animal rights, and that there is no scale at which point you stop valuing human rights because some other thing looks like you might be valuing more humans' rights or something like that. Like, that doesn't make it right. And I actually talked a little bit about this in my video response to Dr. Avi. Like, I think there's this misconception in the way that he talks about deontological versus consequentialist thinking, in that, like, at some point there's this threshold at which point he thinks it is moral or it is right to do harm to, say, like, one person to save X number of people, whatever that number is, some higher number of people. And I don't think that it's right. I don't think it's moral. It's just simply choosing the lesser of two evils. They're still both evil. And you can talk about, okay, one of them is more evil. Okay, fine. I'm not even saying that you shouldn't pick the lesser of two evils. I'm just saying that they are still evil. And to confuse people by trying to make it seem like one of them is actually good, I think is really not helpful. And that's what I think is kind of happening in a lot of these types of discussions. That's my view. Generally, I also thought the Foot Soldier video was good. Yeah, cool. Nikki, next time you're digging in the garden pile, you will notice the flies bumping your forehead. Cool. I will see if I notice that. I don't know if I have ever noticed a fly bumping into me. I have kind of experienced what I think of as suicidal mosquitoes, where they purposely kind of buzz right into your ear and they just kind of hang out there, and they kind of almost want you to slap them. That is kind of annoying. But even with mosquitoes, for many years now, I actually usually don't even swat them. When they land on me, a lot of times they don't bite me. So what I do is I just blow on them and they fly away. It's really odd. I mean, I'm not saying I've never swatted a mosquito. I do, and I still do sometimes. But usually, like, I can just kind of blow on them and they fly away. I don't usually try to kill them. So sometimes out of reflex, like, if it's already bitten me, I'll just slap there because it's stinging or whatever, it hurts. But a lot of times they leave me alone. I just blow on them and they fly away. Racer, maybe you just garden and live next to a disabled fly home for the blind flies. Well, the other thing is that I actually, Nikki, I don't dig very often. It's very rare that I actually dig anything. I try to do the no dig approach with a lot of mulch and all that kind of stuff, as you guys know from the videos that I do. But obviously sometimes you do dig and sometimes you do hurt insects, but you do hurt a lot less, worms and bugs and stuff by doing the no dig approach. So I would definitely encourage everybody, if you're gonna do gardening, I would say get into the heavy compost, heavy mulch, all that kind of stuff, because instead of digging up, say, your whole garden bed and going through with like a plow or some kind of digging machine or a shovel, you can actually just go into it with just digging out a small thing where you put your plant in and re-sort the mulch and you're done. So I don't know, I would definitely recommend that. Let's see. Angry Vegan. Mike the Vegan's latest video on the COVID-19 was good. Okay, cool. I'll check that out. I haven't seen it yet. Jen, in Australia, flies will legit fly up your nose. Man, that's crazy. You know what's really bad is the what are those called? The black flies or the horse flies or whatever they're called. When I used to live in the U.S., we would go rock climbing in New Hampshire, and they had some vicious. I think they're called black flies or whatever. Those flies will bite you, and I mean they'll like take a chunk out of you. I mean it's amazing. Like those things hurt like a mother. It's horrible. You'll actually bleed from it. It's not just like a little mosquito bite, kind of thing. It hurts as bad, I would say, as like a really bad bee sting or like a wasp sting. It's horrible. Those things will mess you up. Anyway, yeah, that does sound pretty horrifying. That's the breath of life. Yep. No dig too. Yeah, cool, Nikki. That's good. I would have said brushing about in the bushes, but hey ho. Ray Slayer says I shouldn't be blowing the bugs. Yeah, I don't blow the bugs. I blow on them. But I should have been more careful with my choice of words. All right, guys. It's pushing 7 o'clock here. My time. I got to get the kids with the missus. Got to get them into bed pretty soon. Start shower time and all that stuff. So I hope everybody's good. I hope everybody's staying safe. Stay inside. Take care of yourselves. Go for a walk. Go for a run. But yeah, be safe if you can. Yeah, try and help somebody out. I know there's a lot of people who they're losing loved ones, and it's a tough time out there. So it's scary to see so many people succumbing to this illness. My only hope is that people take this as a kind of a warning to say, hey man, we got to stop exploiting animals. We got to stop eating them. As a first step, like that's absolutely necessary. Like all of these pandemics all come from these animal, agricultural practices, and we got to stop it. This is crazy. Leon digs no dig. Cool. Nikki, beware of GMO mosquitoes and robot bees. Yeah, I mean, this is another thing that like people think, with technology, oh well, we can say screw the bees, we'll just get robot bees to do the pollination. I don't even think it's practical or possible. Like I really worry when I see high-tech solutions being thrown around for doing things that really just there's like the right thing to do, and then people want to do the wrong thing and try to figure out some kind of like fancy tech solution to fix the thing that they should just do the right thing, and then it wouldn't be necessary. It's really crazy. Like when you look at like carbon sequestration, machines that people are planning and all this kind of stuff, like it's like we just need to like stop burning the fossil fuels. That is what people should be focusing on, and ending animal agriculture and rewilding areas and like growing back trees. If you grow back trees in all the places that you could free up from from stopping animal agriculture, we could have the problem largely solved. And then focus the technology on getting the other things, so we can still have our nice luxuries like internet and power and all this kind of stuff that we've grown to view as being essential, but is really not essential. It's just a really nice luxury. It's a really nice thing to have. But anyway, so you're welcome, Leon. Thanks for being on. I'm happy that everybody's on, and Lee wants to kill us all and is yet still concerned enough to say goodbye. Cool. Jen, really, send me a message of when you're available. Like, I'm relatively available recently, so like I can do a stream, maybe even tomorrow or whatever. I don't know. Let me know if you're free, and we'll set one up. We'll talk about it. Do the red button scenario. All right. So thanks everybody. I'll see you guys in another video soon, and yeah, get out there and do some gardening if you can. Bye everybody.